this is Jeremiah here with Precision Dance Pads. I'm going to show you today how to build a control box for a dance pad. You could use it for any dance pad, any controller. We start with an old dance pad, soft one. These are disposable, you can find them cheap. This one's for PlayStation 2. So, flip it over. All we want is the brains out of this, and I'm going to show you in real time the whole process. So we unscrew this enclosure. This is my first time with this dance pad in particular, but they're all very similar. Okay. Sometimes they have a screw under the sticker. Alright, so all this is trash. You may want to keep this to reuse it. Just the plastic. Okay. Sometimes there's screws holding it inside the box as well. This one there's not. Okay, there's a little piece of foam. This keeps these little cheap wires on the pad. Basically this foam, the plastic presses against it when it's screwed in and puts pressure on that. So there's also a little piece of tape on this one. They don't all have tape, so. Alright, this is something I'm very familiar with. Circuit board for dance pad. There's this black stuff. It's conductive. Sometimes you'll see it above. You only want to strip. You only want to remove. We're gonna remove it with remove it with some sandpaper. Sometimes you'll see some of the black stuff above. Don't mess with that. If you do, you ruin the board. This one doesn't have it. It's a little bit better made. Anyways, we just scratch it off, and underneath you'll see the metal. Okay, that looks good. And if you want to know where all the different wires go to, sometimes they're labeled on the front or back. This one they're not. You can open up the pad. And find where each of these wires goes to. Like the first one here goes to start. So that's this button. Right? I'm looking at it upside down.
You're looking at it upside down.
Yeah. This one would be start. So this one goes to select, and the key one is ground. Ground goes to everything. So that's how you can trace out where all the wires go on the board. So my next step is I use a drill with a tiny drill bit. It's 1/16th of an inch. I'm going to drill holes just at the top. I'm only going to use. I'm building it for a GX pad. You got to be careful not to drill it right in the middle because you could sever that connection. So I'm drilling it off to the side. And every board's different. You got to look at what you're doing. Okay, I think that'll be enough. I usually drill 2 holes, but I'm going to try it with just one. Because sometimes the boards are shorter than this and there's not really room for a second. So, the next step for me is I like to use Ethernet cable. So, It's readily available. It's pretty cheap and it's rugged. The wires are nice and solid. Some of them are flimsier than others. So I take a 2-foot Ethernet cable, I cut it in half. Because I just want 1 foot. Okay. Now I need to rip the insulation off. In the past I stripped them first. That's not a good idea because sometimes you'll nick the wires and they could touch each other. So now I just cut the top and peel it back. I'm going to pull it out about 5 or 6 inches. A little bit more. Okay, now I'm going to separate these wires. I'm building a controller for the Omega GX. It's the same as the ITGX as far as the controller wiring. So the grounds go together so they can stay together. We're going to be soldering today, but this will be really, really easy soldering. Like if you've never soldered before and you just go buy a $10 soldering iron that comes with solder, you're going to be able to do this. It's the easiest thing. And that's why we use the sandpaper, because the solder doesn't stick to that black stuff. Okay. I used a wire stripper to strip the ends off. So I have each wire is individually separated, and now I twist these together so that they're not all loose. These are stranded. You're gonna want stranded because this could bend a lot. But if you have solid, I mean it'll work, but eventually the connections in it may break. It'll be easier to work with for sure, but if it does break, you'll have to replace it. For my purposes, I'm going for longevity, so I always get the stranded.
So you're looking, you strand the green and the light green wire together?
For the GX, both of them go to ground.
Okay.
For the ICGX, for a lot of other pads, they don't. You really just need to know where all the wires go. For step mania, it's not as important. Just make sure you get the ground right. You gotta always have the ground. That's the most important. Nothing will work without it. For step mania, it doesn't matter where the wires go. But we're building this for the PlayStation 2, so it absolutely does matter. And it's nice to be consistent. Anyways, if you're building a controller for your own dance pad, hopefully you know where all the wires go. And you could use the wires straight from the pad and put them on this board. You won't have a way to separate them, but it'll work if you need to do that. As long as you get the ground. And I drilled 2 holes just because I really want a good connection on the ground. And I used to drill 2 holes. The ground's always big, so I never have a fear about room. Alright. So I put the wires in here. Alright, we'll start with the right arrow. The right arrow is, I think it's the 3rd one. It is. I drilled the wrong hole. Actually, the first one was select, and the next is, no, I'm upside down again. First one was start, and the next one was circle. So if you wanted to have a circle button, you could put your wire in there. Okay. So on the GX, the light blue goes to left. Alright, so I'm just going to fold it over. Next is up.
So orange is up.
Orange is up. I got the ground in there. Next is down.
Down is blue.
And then we have the right arrow.
Right is light orange.
The white.
White orange.
The orange with the white stripe. And some Ethernet cables, colors are a little different, tints. Like sometimes the brown looks purple. Alright, brown, we go to X. Even though it's a start button, the X is so much more usable in the PlayStation 2. So we ignore start and just go with X. And then select. Select is the brown with the white stripe. Or white with the brown stripe. Depends on how you see things. Is a giraffe black with white stripes or white with black stripes?
You mean a zebra, not a giraffe?
Am I even thinking?
No.
Yeah, the zebra things. They sell them in Africa.
They don't sell them.
Okay, so I got these wires going across the top. Good. That looks great. Okay, now the fun part, we solder. I already have my soldering iron heating up. It's been on this whole time. So I have a nice fat solder. This is a lead-free. It really doesn't matter. The lead-free requires a little bit higher temperature to heat up. The soldering iron is just a cheap 25 watt. We're just gonna throw it on there. So it attaches to the board and also goes all around the wire. That's great. That's how you want it to look. We're just gonna, yeah. It pulls up on there and that's perfect. Just making sure that wire's over that. That looks good. Ground is important and it's a thicker one on this board, so it'll take a little bit more. Oh, that looks great.
Basically, all you're doing is you're pushing that silver wire-looking thing into the heated end of that
The solder into the
soldering
soldering
tool.
iron.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're supposed to heat up the surface and not touch the solder, but I just let it pool up on the tip and then it falls on there. Alright.
Is that it?
That looks great. So I'll unplug it because we don't want to burn ourselves. Okay. So now we check it. We use our thumbs, make sure none of these are loose. Sometimes you'll get the solder around the wire if it's not close enough to the board, and then it's not connecting. So you can check it. It's a really good. This is a solid connection. I'm gonna fold these back out. This is the rest of the wire. Well, that was good. That was my first time not drilling 2 holes, and it worked out really well. So that's what I'll do from now on. These wires, the key thing is we don't want them ever touching each other, which they can based on how long they are. So I'm just going to cut the ends off. We generate a lot of trash.
And Jeremiah doesn't pick it up either.
That's what the women are for.
Ah! No, I don't think so. I let it sit there for about a week until he picks it up himself.
Okay. So this is good. There's nothing hanging out. Um, well, that'll work. The next step is I would put this into a box. I like to get project boxes, like some of these things. That's a big one. Usually just size it to the controller you're getting. So this is too big for the smaller box, so I'll have to find something in between. I drill holes to put the wires in and out of, but this is basically all we're doing. You can put it back into here if you wanted to, and just seal it up. So there you have it. You can make a controller for any of your dance pads, for any system, whatever system you get a cheap pad for, and this will be solid for a long time. You should have a very reliable dance pad after this. That's it.